Eala walked out as the 29th seed and beat 5 players in a row on grass, including the defending Wimbledon champion. No Filipino man or woman had ever reached the second week of a Grand Slam before her. She did it in front of fans who flew across the world just to watch her play. This is how Eala made history at Wimbledon 2026. Before Eala hit a single ball at Wimbledon, the tournament was already talking about her. Serena Williams had accepted a wildcard into the singles draw. It was her first singles match in almost 4 years. Fans started asking one question. Could Eala end up facing Serena in the second round? To get there, Eala had to earn her spot first. A few weeks before Wimbledon, she was ranked outside the top 30 with no big Grand Slam run to her name. Then, she won the Birmingham Open on grass, fighting back from a set down in the final. Right after that, she went to Berlin and beat world number 2 Elena Rybakina, then beat Alina Svitolina in the very next match. Those 2 wins pushed her all the way to seed number 29. That made her the first Filipino player, man or woman, ever seeded at a Grand Slam. Now she had a seed, a reputation, and a first-round match that stood between her and a possible date with Serena. Would she even get that far? Eala opened her tournament against Renata Zarazúa. The two knew each other well. They had even played doubles together at the French Open the year before. But Zarazúa had also beaten Eala once, back in 2024. There was no revenge story left to write after this match. Eala won 6-1, 6-2 in just over an hour. She hit 22 winners. She won 16 of 21 points when she came forward to the net. It was her first ever main draw win at Wimbledon, and it did not look close. But her path to Serena was not settled yet. Serena still had to win her own first-round match against a rising Australian named Maya Joint. Maya Joint beat Serena Williams in the first round. That ended the Serena storyline before it could even begin. Instead of a legend, Eala's second-round opponent was Joint herself, a player 20 years younger than Serena and dangerous on grass. This match did not start well for Eala. She dropped the first set 3-6. A loss here would have ended her tournament early. She turned it around fast, winning the second set 6-2 and the third set 6-0. That result made her the first Filipino player, man or woman, to reach the third round of a Grand Slam in the Open era. She had already done something no one from her country had ever done. She was not done yet. Eala's third-round opponent was Iga Świątek, the defending Wimbledon champion and a 6-time Grand Slam winner. This was not their first meeting. A year earlier, at the Miami Open, Eala had already beaten Świątek in a tight 3-set match. That memory mattered walking into center court. The first set alone lasted 84 minutes. Eala was broken while serving for the set at 5-3, which could have flipped the whole match. Instead, she pushed it to a tiebreak and saved multiple set points before winning it 11-9. In the second set, she broke Świątek's serve 3 times. Serving for the match, she faced 5 breakpoints in a row and saved every single one before closing it out 7-6, 6-2. After the match, Eala spoke about growing up in the Philippines, training after school with her brother and her grandfather, wearing worn-out socks and old shoes. She said the win meant more to her than it might to a player who had already won many Grand Slams. Then she added that being emotional did not mean she was satisfied, and that she wanted to keep winning. That win sent her into the second week of a Grand Slam, something no Filipino player had ever done before. Her ranking jumped toward a new career high, with a real chance to climb as high as world number 23 if she kept winning. Her fourth-round opponent was Jasmine Paolini, a player who had already reached a Wimbledon final the year before. This was not an easy draw, but Eala was not playing like an underdog anymore. She was playing like someone who expected to win. After Wimbledon, her story kept growing. She teamed up with Venus Williams for doubles, first at a tournament in Germany where they reached the quarterfinals together, then again at the Washington Open in the United States. A player who once idolized the Williams sisters was now sharing a court with one of them as a teammate.
Physically, and Eala stayed strong and has a huge win for her third.
She fell to her knees on center court, and for a second the entire All England club just stopped breathing. Alexandra Eala, 21 years old, ranked 32 in the world, had just done something no Filipino tennis player, man or woman, had ever done in the entire Open era. She had beaten the defending Wimbledon champion, Iga Świątek, 7-6, 6-2, on the most famous tennis court on the planet. If you are Filipino, drop it in the comments right now. because I need a second too before I tell you everything that happened out there. Let's set the stakes first, because you need to understand exactly who Swiatek is walking into this match. She is the reigning Wimbledon champion. Last year, she won this exact tournament by beating Amanda Anisimova 6-0, 6-0 in the final, without dropping a single game. She is a multiple Grand Slam winner across every surface, grass, clay, and hard court. Eala had beaten her once before, back in March 2025 at the Miami Open.
Second time in her career she's beaten a player with such a high ranking, and that is how good it feels.
And Swiatek had answered that loss by beating Eala right back at Madrid later that year. So walking into July 4th, 2026, on center court, the head-to-head sat at 1 win apiece. This wasn't a nobody catching a champion cold. This was a rematch that both of them knew mattered. The first set alone lasted 84 minutes. That is not a set, that's a full fight. Both players held serve early, refusing to give an inch, and then Eala broke through in the 8th game and served for the set at 5-3. 1 game away. And then Swiatek did exactly what defending champions do. She broke straight back, leveled it at 5-5, and dragged the whole thing into a tiebreak. And the tiebreak is where this match turned into an instant classic. Eala raced out to a 5-2 lead in the breaker. She was 1 point away from cruising the set. And then Swiatek reeled off 4 straight points to flip it, reaching set point at 6-5. One forehand from Swiatek, and the entire momentum of the match changes forever. She went for it. She missed. Eala survived the set point, and from there the two of them traded point after point until it was 9-9, with the whole crowd frozen. Eala closed it out 11-9 in the tiebreak, sealing the first set after an hour and 24 minutes of the highest quality tennis you will see at this tournament. You could see it on Swiatek's face in the changeover. Frustration, disbelief. This is a woman who has lifted 6 Grand Slam trophies, and she looked shaken. And then Eala walked out for set 2, and just took the air out of the match completely. She broke to love to open the set, held, broke again for 3-0, and then broke a third time to go up 4-0 against the defending Wimbledon champion. Swiatek clawed 1 break back to make it 4-2, refusing to fold completely, but Eala answered immediately, held her nerve through a brutal final game filled with deuce after deuce, and finally closed out the match on her third match point with a forehand winner that sent center court into a full standing ovation. Final score, 7-6, 6-2 in 2 hours and 14 minutes. The numbers tell you just how one-sided the second set really was underneath all that drama. Swiatek finished the match with roughly double the unforced errors that Eala made. Eala won 68% of the points played on Swiatek's second serve, which is an absolutely brutal number against a former world number 1. She broke Swiatek's serve multiple times across the 2 sets. The head-to-head between them now sits at 2-1 in Eala's favor. And it's worth remembering, the last time before this that Swiatek lost to a left-handed player was back in March 2025, and the player responsible both times has been Eala. Then came the on-court interview, and this is the moment that is going to live in Philippine sports history forever. Eala stood there, voice cracking, eyes already wet, and she said that for someone like Swiatek, who has won so many Grand Slams, or someone like Serena or Venus Williams, a moment like this might look small. But for a girl who grew up in the Philippines, who trained after school with her brother and her grandfather, this is everything. And then, almost in the same breath, still crying, she pulled herself together and said the line that's already all over social media, that just because she's emotional doesn't mean she's satisfied. That single sentence tells you everything about who this competitor is. She lets herself feel it fully, and she's already thinking about the next round. And on the back of her visor the entire tournament, stitched in Tagalog, was a 6-word phrase that translates to once it grows, it cannot be stopped. She said it in her press conference before the match even happened. She wore it into the biggest win of her career. And now, after everything that happened on center court, that phrase doesn't read like a slogan anymore. It reads like a promise she just kept. Here's the part that actually puts this whole run into perspective. Before this year's Wimbledon, Eala had played 6 Grand Slam main draws in her career and owned a losing record in almost all of them. Just this past January, at the Australian Open, she was beguiled 6-0 in the first set by Alicia Parks and lost in the first round. Her third first-round exit at a major. 12 months before that, her ranking sat outside the top 100. And now here she is, seated 29th at Wimbledon for the first time in her life, having climbed over 100 ranking spots in a single year, having won her first grass court title in Birmingham just weeks before this tournament even started. She beat Renata Zarazúa in the first round without losing her serve once, then battled back from a set down to beat Iga Świątek, the same player who had knocked out Serena Williams just 2 days earlier, and now she has taken down the defending Wimbledon champion herself. With this win, Eala becomes the first Filipino player, male or female, to reach the 4th round of a Grand Slam in the entire Open era. Not the deepest run of her career, the deepest run any Filipino has ever made at a major, period.